What matters is the learning process, that exchange that takes place between the student and the teacher. And that's what it boils down to. And for me, when I look back at my 4 years at Chapel Hill, it was a very, very rich exchange all the way through. I remember fondly in my first English Lit class studying Billy Budd with a wonderful assistant professor named Wayne Gunn. And I got so intrigued with the whole notion of moral versus legal justice that I went on to take a philosophy course just to pursue that subject more.
To me, Lyman Cotton represented the very best, the flower of undergraduate teaching in Chapel Hill. He was learned, he was dedicated, he was brilliant. And I particularly remember on a morning in the modern portrait class when I volunteered to give an interpretation of a very elaborate and complicated John Crow Ransom poem called Prelude to an Evening. It's one of the great works in modern poetry, and I gave what I thought was a brilliant exposition. And Lyman Cotton, who had this wonderful technique of an edge of slight sarcasm when you stepped over bounds, looked at me and he said, "Very good, Mr. Yoder. It happens to be 100% wrong."
We are embarked on a bicentennial campaign to make the nation's first university, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, also its finest. As a true believer in this university, I want to testify, to see that our bicentennial campaign will get translated into people, not merely stratified into brick and stone. I want to translate into flesh and blood our goals of supporting teachers, students, and a richer campus life. In order to humanize the campaign's dollars and cents, I want to emphasize the most important but least tangible part of the university, that invisible learning transaction always underway between faculty and students. The truth is, we are asking you to risk your money on an investment that you cannot see, cannot touch, cannot measure. Ben Franklin once said, "If a man empties his purse into his head, no one can take it from him." We are asking you to empty your purse into the heads of strangers you may never meet, the heads of chemists and fraternity brothers, of teenagers who hail from Rose Hill and Chocowinity and Bat Cave, the heads of experts on Shakespeare or Derrida or Robert E. Lee, heads that come in all sizes and all colors and both genders. Let's begin with the 2,000 professors' heads that every day work to enlighten 18,000 undergraduate heads. That's exactly the place to start, since Carolina began over 2 centuries ago with 40 students, $200 worth of books, and 1 teacher. The teacher remains at the human heart of this institution. When I travel across the state, my association with Carolina calls up a long roster of names and memories because ex-students define Carolina in terms of teachers. I can predict some of the names they will spread before me. Did you ever know, they'll begin, did you ever know Walter Spearman, Prof. Koch, Paul Green, Reese Berryhill, Blyden Jackson, Kitty Carmichael, Hugh Holman? And then their questions tumble into the present. My son or daughter had this wonderful teacher you might know named Bill Peck, Eugen Merzbacher, Joel Swartz, Royal Tyson, Slayton Evans, Trudier Harris, Martha Nell Hardy, Carol Reese, Jerry Mills, Reed Barber, and so on. Great teaching, too, is easier to testify to than to measure. I like asking students to testify to what great teaching is. I especially like asking some of the 3,200 bright freshmen who come to us every autumn and keep our arteries from hardening. Like my freshmen, I hold in memory a treasury of wonderful teachers, some right here on this campus. And while I have tried to go back down the years and thank them all, there's never a way to pay back that debt we owe devoted teachers. We have in every generation been pushed to the front of that forward-pushing chain of obligation. We can only pass it on. We must pay the next generation those incalculable debts we owe to the last. One reason we support today's and tomorrow's teachers is because yesterday some teacher changed our lives. Support of faculty is not only important so they can teach the subjects they know and love, but as an investment in the research that keeps them loving those subjects and breaking new ground. Do not be misled by those who think students should learn, but professors should stand still and let knowledge pass through them without touching. Good teachers are themselves lifelong learners. Those who disagree are often the easy black-white thinkers you have met in other areas. I come not from the either-or folks, but the both-and camp myself. Body and soul, research and teaching. Those same either-or people sometimes set up false competitions between graduate and undergraduate students here at Carolina. We must make it clear that Carolina would not be a university if we didn't train PhDs. That's the distinctive mark. The task of raising more than $300 million on behalf of teachers and students is not what I'd call a slide course. After we've talked about faculty, students, research, and graduate students, we need to underscore the many services Carolina renders to its state and nation. This university invests more of its budget in direct services to the state than any other leading research university in the country. Yet our Tar Heel family as a group, Southern, recently rural, may sometimes seem a bit scared of excellence, especially of intellectual excellence for its own sake. Some want to have a good university, but consider a world-class university rather daunting, maybe excessive, perhaps a mark of hubris. No, the intellectual life is one of doubt, questioning, search, not of conceit, not of arrogance. This university is not about the hubris of absolute knowledge, otherwise it would not be endlessly teaching, endlessly learning. Instead, this university is about the humility of learning and unlearning and learning anew twice, thrice, 1,000 times. While we can't always prove by scientific method or legal brief a courtroom case for the university, during this campaign we can all testify. We can tell the story of how we, our children, our neighbors' children are more alive because of what was seen and heard and read and comprehended here.
When I remember great teaching at Chapel Hill, I remember several members of the faculty like Frederico Hill, Lyle Citizen, Dr. Bauer in math, who frightened me and taught me well. And I think probably what I remember most about them is that they gave us not only the ideas, but the fascination with ideas and the idea that we were a part of something, education, which wasn't ending in that classroom, but was going on all our lives.
As we enter the 1990s and look toward the 21st century, if there's any major truism in this world, is that we're all engaged in a constant process of learning. And in fact, when you've been bitten by the bug, when you realize that learning is really the most exciting thing that goes on in this world, and you can sort of begin to transmit that feeling, that idea to others, it's truly a gift, and it's a gift that I received from really the great professors at Chapel Hill.
You have just seen and heard distinguished alumni who were profoundly influenced by their great teachers at Carolina. I'm sure that you have a similar story to tell. I want to thank you for your generous support of the College of Arts and Sciences. You and I know that the college lies at the very heart of the great Carolina tradition of teaching and learning. During the bicentennial campaign for Carolina, you and I have the privilege of passing on to future generations the legacy of our great university. What role will you assume in the bicentennial campaign for Carolina? First, I hope you will ask, what has Carolina done for you in your personal and professional life? And then I hope, acknowledging that debt to Carolina, you will give as you have never given before. On behalf of Carolina, on behalf of the College of Arts and Sciences, I thank you for your past support, your present support, and the stretch you will make to help us succeed in our bicentennial campaign.